Welcome to Suddenly Different, where we explore stories and strategies for life when it doesn't go to plan. I'm Leigh-Anne Charland, inviting you to join me on this journey. Sometimes life taps us gently on the shoulder, and sometimes it stops our heart to get our attention. For my guest today, it was a triple bypass, a moment when the clock reset, where recovery wasn't just about healing the body, but about reimagining what it meant to live, to love, and to lead. Eugene Moreau has walked through loss, through health collapse, through the quiet ache of ageism, and still chosen to reinvent, not in a grand sweeping way, but in a steady, deliberate return to what matters most. He is a teacher of resilience, a student of neuroplasticity, and a grandfather whose second chance has become a compass for presence and legacy. Eugene, it is an honor and privilege to welcome you to Suddenly Different.
It is an absolute thrill to be here. A real thrill to be here. I was trying to remember just when we first met, and it was what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now?
Yeah, so it was in that sort of December 2021, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Because we were doing the neuroplasticity,
we were.
the neuro change method
Yeah,
practitioner program, yeah.
we definitely
And
were.
we got put into a chat room together during one of the exercises,
We did.
and the world shifted on its orbit.
That's right. From then on, we were in groups
Yeah,
together, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
we
It was good.
shared this time. We shared the time where my life turned upside down,
Yep, yep,
and when
yep.
yours did.
I remember when in August we moved from Waikato back to Auckland, and then 2 days after we moved to Auckland, I was moving some books into my library, which was in the backyard, and my chest started hurting again. And I promised my wife that if that ever happened, I'd immediately call the ambulance and get them to take me, because in 2012 I'd had a small heart attack, and they put a stent in there. I ended up going into hospital because I had these chest pains, and I just wasn't ready for that. Literally, I was not ready for that. I found myself, I think, mentally arrested is a phrase I would use. I've
Mentally
always considered
arrested.
myself I've always considered myself a growth-minded person, a possibility. I'm always looking for the opportunity, never make a solid commitment to this idea, because just around the corner, there's going to be another idea. And as John Maxwell has been quoted as saying, the only thing that kills a great idea is another great idea. So I found myself laying in hospital, and then they did the angio and everything. And I'm 64 at the time. I thought to myself, what am I doing? What's going on here? Now, what I realized was that I was actually one of the very first Moreau males in our, at least 5 or 6 generations that we are aware of, to actually live to see a 60th birthday. And here I was, 64 at that time, that I was laid in hospital. And I thought, what am I doing? I've got a new grandson coming along soon in a few months' time. And here I am laying in hospital. And they said, you're going to have, at that stage, it was a double bypass. Eventually became a triple bypass. And when that happened, 3 weeks later, I had the triple. And I was mentally arrested. It just stunned me how exhausted I was, how tired I was, how completely ineffective and unable to contribute to anything. Because my expectation was I'd be up and, I had a responsibility. Got to carry on, My amazing wife took over again, because she took over in 2010 when I had an emotional and physical and mental collapse. She took over again, ran the show, made sure that we were set up, and we had enough set aside through savings and stuff. I took a whole year off. I just took a whole year off. And I said, I'm going to reevaluate what's going on here. This is not working. This is not effective. This is not what I want my world to be. I've got a new grandson who's just the most amazingly smart, intelligent, stubborn, so much like his mother. He is so incredible. And I said, I want to enjoy him. And so we all live together as this family. It takes a village to raise. And we have our oldest daughter, we call him a fungi daughter, which is like a girl who lived with us as a teenager and now is our daughter. We finished the job. Her little girl is with us as well in a 3-bedroom, upstairs, downstairs house.
Wow.
If you don't know Jesus before you come in our house, you will know him when you leave, because it makes you pray to live in this house, I'm telling you.
So when you'd had heart murmurs, I remember when you messaged me from the hospital saying that you were in there, and I think it was that we were meant to have a meetup or something.
Yeah.
And you couldn't make it. So because, you just had this little excuse like my heart's not working properly. And so, and I can understand what happens with the simplicity. I suppose we think about when surgeons are so experienced with doing, double bypasses and triple bypasses, it's sort of a matter of fact thing. You go in for a week, come out, get on with your life, go to rehab, etc., etc. I know, well, my brother-in-law, he knew people who'd had success. He was fitter than they were. We all expected that to be absolutely just a no-brainer. We thought he was overestimating what he could do after, but he actually didn't end up making it. Right? So the things about our heart and our decisions that we make, our decisions before it happens and our decisions after are so important because you are a lucky one to have made it through.
Yes.
It isn't a given. And, I think of Pete every day, and I know that he didn't know that he had genetic predisposition.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to say goodbye. So
wow.
So with you, you've said that you weren't mentally prepared for the experience, the recovery.
I should have been. If I just looked at the history. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, all died of heart attacks.
Right.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
All before they were 60 years old.
Yeah. Right.
Every one of them. So, I should have known. I should have paid attention. It's woulda, shoulda, couldas sitting in here.
Yeah.
But I'm the kind of person where I don't actually dwell on that.
Yeah.
I said, okay, it's happened. There's nothing I can do about living a regretful life. I can't do that. It's nothing. So I use one of the principles I learned in our training that I knew. I had it before, but I never had a name for it. It's called deliberate purpose. I actually deliberately purposed my life by a new set of principles, guidelines that said, I'm going to reshape and reauthor the narrative of my life and my story. And I'm going to use it to help others engage in something that's meaningful. Now, when was it? I think I started it in 2009, but I might have finished it in around 2014. I wrote a book called Leaving Almost. The journey started in 2005, to be honest. It was like an epiphany I had. And over the years, I began to work on it. And I wrote this fable because I love Patrick Lencioni and his writing style. I love that style. So I tried to become a Patrick Lencioni and write a fable about a guy named Alex who meets an older man named Oliver, and they start having these conversations. And Alex is a reasonably successful consultant coach, and he's waking up saying, is this it? Something's missing in my life. And so because I'd written that book, I had a colleague of mine say to me, after the triple, said to me, "You need to go read your book. Go back and read your own book." He said, "Because you were talking to yourself then, and you're talking to yourself now." So I said, "You're right." So I went back and I reread my own book. And I thought, this isn't too bad. I said, this isn't too bad. But then I was telling myself that just keep it really simple. There are 4 questions we have to ask ourselves when we are having deliberate purpose. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? What's most important to me for that journey? And how do I get there? These are the 4 questions. And when you are able to keep those answers really simple and clear and succinct, and not be fluffy with it, and not be real authentic with it. When I went through those questions, I said to myself, well, this is not where I want to. Where I am right now, I don't want here. I actually want to be back. And I've got a job I need to finish. I have unfinished work, and I'm running out of time years wise, but I have finished work. There's a lot of things I need to get out of me so that I can leave it as a legacy for my wife, my grandchildren, my friends, my colleagues, people that over the years have asked me to invest into them. I need to give this to them. And that's deliberate purpose.
It's fabulous, fabulous, and a very simple model with finding that. And I think when we're on the treadmill of life, we forget what that purpose is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We sort of get stuck in the put one foot forward after another.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the grind of it, instead of going, okay, well, actually the scenery
Yeah.
and the people I'm with, because with the change for you, it would have been possibly, I could imagine that it would have been easy just to curl up in a ball and say, it's too hard. I feel too unwell.
Yeah. Well, the night that I got out, I asked the cardiologist, the surgeon, I said, how long do I have to stay in hospital? He said, no one leaves inside 5 days. But if you can get up and walk from your bed, have a shower, and then walk around and get a cup of coffee down the station and come back to your bed, you can do that. We'll let you go home. I said, I'm going home in 5 days. And so I went home in 5 days. But what happened was the night that I got home, we had a spare room in our home that we were in. I stayed in the spare room with my legs, had pillows around my legs because they had a massive scar going down my inside of my left leg where they harvested the artery. And if you've never been through triple bypass, they open you right up and they do the stuff. So I was in there, and that night I sweated, I had fevers and chills, and I couldn't figure out why. My leg was infected. And we didn't know this when we were in hospital. It wasn't detected. So we had just moved back to Auckland. Our doctor was in Hamilton, an hour and a bit away, hour and a half away. So we had to find a new doctor here, close to home. So my wife did all of this. She did all the paperwork to get all of our Kiwi Saver and our savings and our self financially. She did all of this. What an amazing woman. I mean, what an amazing woman. And she did all of this while she ran the house. And then our daughter was pregnant. And so it was like this perfect storm was brewing with me going in at that time. There's never a right time and never a good time, but this was so far from right and good that it was like a far distant cousin. So we that night I went to this. I went to see the doctor 2 days later, and he said, "Oh, you're infected." So I had to go every second day. My daughter had to drive me to the doctor for them to clean it. And I was thinking to myself, come on, man. And I found myself, that negative inner critic, that self-talk just started bubbling away. And so I changed what I was listening to. And actually, I started listening to a U.S. preacher named Joel Osteen, who has one of the largest churches in America. It's not kind of lightweight preaching, but more motivational stuff. But I needed to hear that. And so I'd be up for an hour or two, and then I'd fall asleep for 3 hours. and I'd get up for another 2 or 3 hours. My family came over. They were from Australia. They came over to visit. 45 minutes later, said, guys, I'm sorry. I've got to go to bed. My eyes, I could hardly open. So that was my journey for the first month or two. And then I slowly began to build up some strength. Our first Christmas after triple was very, very low keyed. And Kano, our grandson, had just been born 2 months prior. And I was finally able to hold him just around December. I couldn't hold him for 3 months after surgery. So he was born about a month after my surgery, and I couldn't hold him for 2 months. So then, because he's a solid little boy, I think he's just the cutest kid around, but that's just my personal opinion, and I'm not biased in any way at all. And so that the headspace you were talking about, it's really important that you have to understand you've got to keep it really simple. When you're in the storm and you're getting buffeted and things are just flowing against you, you can change that by just not reacting, but responding. And there's this big, massive difference between those two words. And it's in the mindset, the headspace. And Dr. William Bridges talks about change is when you have an event like a triple bypass, your life changes. Transition is a psychology that you manage that change with. And so when I understood that I needed to, the change was there. There's nothing I could do about it. It was there. It had happened. How I responded to that, not reacted, how I responded to that was my transition strategy. And that's when I began to change my direction. I said, okay, now I'm going to get back into the flow of things. It's going to take me a while to get back into flow state. It may take me a year. It's actually taking me 2, but that's okay. Then I had to get back to the simplicity of where my deepest well was. What is it that I do that is so good that I can walk into any room and be counted among the top 5? I'm in the top 5, no matter what it is, no matter who's in the room, anywhere in the world, I could be considered top 5. Okay, I know what that is. I've been doing it for 35 years. So I went back to my bullseye, which was presentation strategist and coach, helping business people talk about their business and using neuroscience, the tools that I've learned on how to shape our words and shape our attitude and shape our headspace to actually nail this.
And
that's that journey.
And isn't it wonderful when we've done all of this training and we're able to apply it to ourselves? Because I was in exactly the same position. Yeah. I think I did just immediately after my mini stroke, I did the certification of the neuroscience, right?
Yes, I remember that.
So,
I remember that.
Because I deteriorated.
During the middle of it, Leigh-Anne, you were actually in the program. I remember that. When all of a sudden you had let us know that this had happened. Yeah.
And but because of the way the body responds to external stimuli, be it infection or for me, vaccine or whatever, it is.
Yes.
So you are really fortunate that your body healed that infection, because that infection was such a dangerous thing for you.
Oh,
and
that was so bad.
And I know people who've, really not managed to get rid of that. It's still alive in their systems.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about the mindset and the strategies that you used and the surrender and patience and self-management that you applied to let go of the inflammation, right?
Okay. Look, I'm a faith-based Christian. I'm not a religious person. I'm not someone that I would say I don't follow the institutional pathway, let's put it that way. I'm born and raised. I'm the son of a Pentecostal missionary. I was born and raised in the shadow of a pulpit, all right? So I know, but I don't follow the institutional track, but I'm faith-based. What I do believe is that it was my faith. And I love writing. And so I would write things about this. And some things will never get shared. They are intensely personal and private. But I wrote things. And I would read back and I'd say, yeah, that's what I really feel. There was one particular piece I wrote called Even If none of this was true, I'm still going to believe because it's feeding my soul. It's feeding my soul. And so I think the first step that someone has to do when they've gone through a sledgehammer event,
Yes.
something that just knocks the snot out of them, all right? What they have to do is make a decision. In the Bible, there's a book called Daniel, and it's an Old Testament. And in Daniel, there's a little statement that is so powerful. It says, Daniel made up his mind. And I thought, oh, yeah, I have to make up my mind. I have to make a decision and stick to that decision that I'm not going to let this overwhelm me. Even when I feel overwhelmed, the words out of my mouth will give life. Joel Osteen says, whatever you say after the words am comes chasing you. If you say, I am overwhelmed, it comes chasing you. If you say, I am overcoming, it comes chasing you. I am fulfilled, even though I have these troubles, I am victorious. Whatever you say after I am. So I started saying, I am recovering. I am a successful, recovered professional. I am someone who knows how to engage with others and inspire them. I am victorious. And so I started writing down a whole bunch of I ams. And then I put music to them and I recorded myself saying them. And I have it on my phone. I carry them 7 days of I ams that I have written for me. And I listen to them and I say them to this day. I still say them. That's how you do this. That's how you have deliberate purpose. And that's how you say, this is a big event in my life. And you're right. That infection could have really compromised the situation. Really could have messed it up. I'm so grateful that it didn't. But this is how you overcome. This is how you say, I'm going to rebuild. I'm going to restore. I'm going to reposition. I'm going to revive. You have a whole bunch of re's sitting in your life. You need to release those re's and let them live. And then you can go and pursue your profession and your dream and be legitimate with your family and effective with your family. And exactly what you've done. You and I have actually followed parallel paths. When I heard you were doing a podcast like this, I thought, my goodness, that woman does not quit. There you go.
Well, but it is. We choose, and I'm doing this for our audience. There is somebody in our audience that needs hope, that needs maybe some strategy, but they need hope.
Yep.
And we are both living proof that
Yes.
obstacles can occur. Severe health obstacles can occur. Now,
Yes.
we have to learn how to manage those. And, as you've said, it's been 2 years, not 1 year. It's, you have to choose what it is that you have in your life and what you don't. There's lots of hard, pointed decisions that we have to make to choose to be how we are. I'm choosing to do these podcasts because I just cannot, right? There is no reason not to. Now, this afternoon, I will rest and sleep, right? I will have 4 to 5 hours afternoon sleep. And nobody will see that. And that's okay, because that's got, nothing to do with the fact that I can turn up, you can turn up. We have a purpose that is bigger than ourselves, right? It is, my grandchildren, who are 6 and 2.5, they are everything, right? One of my biggest achievements was when I was allowed to be kind of babysitting them under supervision, and I could last an hour with them.
Yeah.
And it was like I'd passed a hidden exam, and I can imagine how you were when you held your grandson, right? It's like I was too unwell to do anything. And now
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can do little things. I spend most of my time sitting on the floor with them, but
Yes.
because I have to do that to manage my everything, but I do that. And I don't identify as being the chronically ill grandmother. I identify as being grandma who plays blocks, trains, trampoline,
Yes.
frisbee,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. 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 I think Kanoa has graduated from sitting on the floor playing. By the way, at 3 years old, he turns 3 in a couple months. At 3 years old, he loves garbage trucks.
Yes.
Everything about his garbage trucks. So we're driving down the road, garbage truck, and he'll see it. And he wants to follow the garbage truck, Papa. Follow the garbage truck, Papa. And so he wants to garbage trucks. So he chose his birthday cake picture. Can you guess what it was? A massive yellow garbage truck cake. And my wife has said, I'm not sure I can actually make that. So my wife says, I don't think I can actually make that. So we're going to see what happens in a couple months.
Well, our Bobby, he loves trains and
Wow.
diggers, right?
Yeah.
Diggers
Wow.
are everything, wheels, but he has discovered blocks. And so he's starting to explore with Lego and Duplo.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But it is amazing. And learning, I wonder, I know I've learned so much about how to recover
Yes.
from the children, right? Because they don't have big stories going on in their head about what they can and can't do, right? They don't have solid experience of boundaries, but they are a wonderful example. Well, they are experts at joy.
Yeah.
Absolute experts.
I want to come back to something you said, Leigh-Anne. I think we have to give ourselves permission to not be molded by the discourse that we have to put in a lot of hours to be successful. And I'm building my business, rebuilding. I've just secured another contract with an organization for the next 12 months, and it could possibly go 5 months, 5 years. Depends how the next 12 months goes. That's using all of my talent and skills in presenting and strategy and consulting and networking, all the things that I've had to do for the last 35 years. And so, and I'm doing that. I drop Kanoa off at school, daycare, at around 9 o'clock every morning. And then, so my day officially starts then, but I don't book anything until 10 o'clock. So between 10 and 2:30 is my work time. And then I have to be available to pick him up, to leave to pick him up at 3:30. So officially, I'm 20 to 25 hours a week, and I'm building a 6-figure consultancy on my own again. And I'm just engaging an organization to do a lot of background pipeline management and LinkedIn growth to fill one workshop a month on one of my executive training products. So, so I've got this clarity on it, and I'm not going to let the world tell me that I have to put in 8 to 10-hour days and 12-hour days and be proud of it. Some people say, oh man, I just worked 18 hours, and they carry that like a mantle, like it's some kind of badge of success. No, you failed. You don't have to do that.
It's interesting that you mention that, because that is definitely what I have observed when I look back on my career. The choices I made based on the stories I told myself that were my truths about how much you had to work, how much money you had to have. It is very interesting to see how much you really need when you are in a situation like you and I have been, where it is not the same. And
exactly.
I think that if we can be smarter, work smarter, not longer, we've got these skills. And in this time of virtual assistants and AI and outsourcing, it is actually not productive for us to be doing it all ourselves.
Yeah.
It's important for us to be able to understand communications skills and
Yes.
process analysis skills and things like that, so that we can instruct somebody else to do what might excite them and give them great purpose. Because who are we to say what people love doing and utilize our expertise? Because I know that I wasted so much of my expertise bandwidth on doing grunt work.
Yeah, and things that were not your wheelhouse. So I'm one of those people that, thanks to the invention of Canva, I used to think I was a designer. I'm not. I'm a wannabe designer. And so I did something, and I have a designer that lives in Wellington, and she's the protector of my brand. And so I sent her this thing, and I said, I just sent this off. It was a proposal. She says, don't ever do that again. She says, because that's not your brand. That's not the way it's done. And so she sent it back to me, redone the way it's supposed to. And I thought, I could see the difference. It was like, wow, that was it's subtle, but powerful. So what I come to realize was, let me do the things that I know I'm the best at. I have a thing I do with my clients. I do a triangle. I said, okay, the points of the triangle are the three things that only you can do. No one else can do them as a company. The lines that connect the 3 points are operational things that anyone else can do. And if you happen to do them, it's because there's no one else to do them. But these are the three things that only you can do. I need to follow my own advice, I said. And so I did my own triangle. And I realized that one of the things that I was doing and spending hours on was design stuff. That's not my wheelhouse. That's not my 3 points. My 3 points are not on there. So I have to change that. And you've learned the same thing. And I would suggest to anyone who's watching or listening to this, that if you really want to make a change in your life, if you really want to say, okay, I need to stop this going around, keep doing the same thing I've always done, getting the same results. If I need to stop that, then what I have to do is I have to say, what are the three things that only I can do in this business? No one else can do them. They don't have the authority. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the mantle. I'm the only one that can do these three things. Then what else is being done that can be put in the hands of someone else who's really, really good at that?
Yeah. And it is really important for us to be thinking that way and being far more strategic.
Yes.
I know sometimes it is difficult for the teacher to listen to him or herself as being the advisor, but we do have to ensure that we have the appropriate roles. My friend has a business and she has separate personas within her solo business. She has separate personas for each of the roles, like finance and admin. So she refers to the third person, even though she's going to do it. She says, look, I'm really sorry, but finance are really strict on this. And I'm sorry, I have to be paid this much before, or sorry, admin, they can't open a file until they have claimed document or whatever.
Yep.
She actually behaves like she would in a big firm in her micro business. So if we were to do that, using and building those habits, making sure that those neural pathways are absolutely maximized for our family, our community, because neither of us are ego people. So it is about out there.
Yep. And when we lay our head down at night and we are going through the day, as most of us will do, these little ideas and being creative and whatever, and we ask ourselves, have I been the best version of me that I know I can be? Have I honored my reputation? Have I been faithful to the values that I have built around me? These ideas, Brian Tracy calls it peace of mind, that when I lay down at night, I have peace of mind. And I was talking to my wife earlier this morning, and we were talking about a particular situation. And I looked at her and I said, we just have to know that we're doing the best we can with what we've got. that this is what's in our hands. And I will build this life with this. And I'm not going to live by a performance standard of someone else out there because I'm not them. They're not me. And I know that if I can look myself in the mirror, deep into my eyes, and say, Eugene, are you being the best version of you? The authentic you, the true you, the real you, not the fake or the belief or the none of that. Just really, really you. And you can put your hand over your heart and say, yes, I am. Then that's fine. You don't have to hit a performance goal. And for so many years, I used to think that my success was determined by money. For so many years, I had a veterinarian colleague of mine. I was coaching him for a little while, and then he ended up coaching me. And he says, you need to stop this money thing. He said, the lives that you've impacted has nothing to do with money. Your success has nothing to do with how much money is in your bank account. So stop it. It's actually a very difficult habit to break.
Yes.
But we can break habits by rewiring the mindset, the neural pathways, change the way we think, and we change the way we behave.
Yeah. And taking note, like being our observer. So that nighttime reflection is really good because it's basically saying, taking that note of what did I do? All right. Because we know that data is the evidence of really what we believe. It's the evidence of really what our values are.
Yes.
It proves, the messages we're getting from the external world, the way people greet us when we bump into them, in the street.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm a good person because I'm met with love all around me.
Yeah.
Miss some of the facade. I miss some of that busyness that I used to live in for a minute, for a moment. And then I go, actually, how much did that cost me? In it, as far as my health and my life, I was paying far more than I was earning for that busyness. So it is really, really important to look at the rewiring and the choices. The other thing that I've found is doing little things gives me evidence that big things can happen. Yeah. So learning how to cross stitch. I'd never done it before. I decided to try it.
Wow.
I had it sitting on the shelf for 2 weeks because I have a problem reading and comprehending. So I didn't have the instructions on how to do it. But when I started to do it, I decided that I wasn't going to follow any rules. I was just going to enjoy it. Yeah. And then I improved at it. And it's like, well, I have that evidence that I can learn something. So maybe I can rebuild pathways to old experience.
Yep.
And what I'm learning with the podcast is my ability to speak still works. 6 months ago, I couldn't put a full sentence together and I couldn't talk for more than 10 minutes.
Well, I think you've done exceptional. What are we, 45 minutes now or something like that?
We are.
Something along those lines?
Yeah.
So I think you've done well.
Yeah.
I think if there's a bottom line to this.
Yeah.
Life is going to throw you curveballs. Now, this is not a straight line that we live. The world will do everything it can through its marketing machine to tell you who you need to be and what you should look like and what you should buy and how you should do it. And it will set a performance expectation around you and your family and the lies that we see on television programs about what a family should look like and all of that. Real life says that you've got to keep it really simple. Less is more. And if you just stop putting things on your plate about who you think you need to be and who you're trying to impress and why you're trying to impress and all that, and just be very true to your vision. Where am I going with my life? In the next 5 years, And this is a conversation you start with your wife or your husband. You say, in the next 5 years, what are we setting out to accomplish together as a team, as a husband and a wife, as a partner? As partners, what are we setting out to accomplish together? And then let's keep it really simple. My wife is studying her master's in narrative therapy. When we first got married 20 years ago, I could easily win an argument. Now I don't stand a chance. She is so good at what she does. And she has terms and terminology, and she's narratively informed to the point that she is just an incredibly gifted counselor. And she'll turn that on us as a family sometimes. And we just say, not fair, not fair. And the fact that I'm a certified master coach and that doesn't count for anything. She's master qualified as a narrative therapist, or almost master qualified. So the point that I'm bringing all this up is this. What you need to focus on is, what are we wanting to achieve as a family, as a husband, as a wife, as an individual? If you don't have a family, what am I setting out to accomplish in the next 5 years? Then why is that so important? And if you can nail those two, it helps you have perspective. I came out of triple bypass. My world had changed. It was one of the most defining moments. I've had two of them. I married my wife in November of 20 years ago. All right. In 2005, I married my wife, and I had triple bypass. Now, there's been a lot of events in between. We've lost a granddaughter to drowning. We've seen our world turn upside down. We've had complete financial collapses. We've had all these different things happen in that 20 years. But that particular event of the triple bypass was such a defining point in my life, our life as a family, that we recognized Dad has now got a new motto. So, and my wife and my daughter remind me pretty well every week, 85 and alive, 85 and alive is what they say. And so if I want to do something, if I want to eat something, I should have said, Dad, is that going to help us achieve 85 and alive? And I just look at them and I say in my head, oh, shut up. But I don't ever say that out loud because I know I'll get in trouble. The narratively informed master's counselor in our house will give me an exhortation on why that's not going to work. So the bottom line is, you've got to have a very clear picture. What am I setting out to achieve in the next 5 years? Why is that so important?
Yeah.
And there's your baseline right there.
85 and alive. I love that. I absolutely love that.
We should have a celebration podcast when I'm 85.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I look at the gifts that you've shared that you were given by that defining moment. So, and really, I think you've given our listeners so much advice. Keep it simple. Be clear. Check in. Like, it's not rocket science, this stuff. But the important thing I can hear is be present. Right? Be here. So as you move on to your next stage with your business, in educating people to walk alongside you as you walk your talk, and lead them so that they can lead others. I think those people are so fortunate. Our listeners are so fortunate. Have a friend who our lives will cross.
Yep. I just want to compliment you and encourage you and inspire you to keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. If you have 150 podcast episodes and only 150 people have watched, but their lives have changed, then you have been an outrageous success. An outrageous success. And sometimes I do a thing called Grow Together, which is an initiative I have here for faith-based businesses. And I have 78 followers and only 35 or so are in the community on Facebook page. 48, sorry. I've had one or two of them come to me and say, what you're teaching us or what you're mentoring us in or what you put out there in your audios or your video programs, I taken that and my whole team has changed. And I thought, okay, that's one of the reasons why I do that. Is how to stay focused, how to have clear vision, how to be motivated, how to actually build healthy relationships, the how-tos of growing a business, because we're here to grow together. And that's what you're doing. You're opening up an opportunity for people like me to speak into one or two people that may find themselves right now standing at that edge, and they're saying, wow, do I really want to do this, or this is not working? How do I make the change? You step back, you clear away the dust. You say, what are the three things that only I can do? Because I'm so good at it. I'm gifted. I'm called. I'm functional. It's effective for me to do this. It inspires me to do this. And then step into it. You're doing one of those things, Leigh-Anne. This is one of the things that you're really good at, is engaging with people to draw them out and let them tell their story.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So Eugene's story is a reminder that the heart is more than a muscle. It's a storyteller. It carries the scars and the stitches, but it also whispers, begin again. Reinvention isn't neat. It asks for grief, for patience, for courage to reauthor your own chapters. But as Eugene has shown us, our lives and even our brains are far more elastic, far more forgiving than we often believe. Thank you, Eugene, for opening your story with us. And to you listening right now, may you find in his words a quiet permission to let go, to rewire, to choose life again, to notice your 3 points and to go for that purpose that is so important to you. Thank you. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been Suddenly Different. I'm Leigh-Anne Charland, and I'm so grateful you shared your time with me. If you felt a spark, a tear, or a moment of recognition, I hope you'll pass that gift along by sharing this show. Take a deep breath, trust your path, and I'll meet you back here soon.